What is up? Welcome to the Smalley Talk podcast. This is your host, Josh Rinko. We are here with episode 3 of Smalley Talk podcast, Great Lakes. Got my co-host, Destin Demarion. What's up, Destin?
Hey Josh. Hey everybody. It's good to be back. I think we've had a couple good shows and hopefully this will be another good one and some awesome guests coming as well next after this.
Oh yeah, we dropped a banger the last one. I haven't listened to the whole thing, but I feel like you get a good sense of like during your recording of like, oh, this is pretty good. Like,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
juicy. It was
yeah,
juicy.
a lot of juice. I feel like those guys, the both the Joeys are really interesting dudes that
Oh yeah.
they kind of represent that. I would say like new age of bass fishing. They kind of grew up with I don't know how old they are, but they definitely have that feel of like they've been, Live Scope was around like when they were young enough to be like, oh, this is just something you do, sort of thing.
hmm
I don't know how you feel that. I do not feel that young. I feel like for
I can
me,
tell
it's like,
you I do not. Especially today I went to the gym and threw my back out, so I definitely do
oh,
not feel young at all.
yeah, that
It's like, oh, I
sucks,
can
dude.
do this. This is not that much weight. And I did it. Then after, I was like, I can't even bend over now.
Dude, that's like every guy that I know that's like my age has either thrown their back out like in the last year or they just have like back problems. That's just like, you're getting old when all your buddies are like, oh, yeah, man, I had back issues too. Yeah, it sucks.
30s and 40s, man. It just starts going downhill, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I've been pretty I'm on a new workout routine. This I started in January with my daughter, my oldest daughter, and she's starting to get into fitness a little bit. And I was like, well, it's like, hey, if you wanna like do a workout thing, I was like, we could do I've done a bunch of different, types of programs and stuff. And I was like,
hmm
oh, I'll show you some stuff that'll, challenge you. So we've been doing this one that I've done before that's has a lot of stretching and like the warm up and stuff, do stretching and yoga, and then it goes into lifting weights. But
Nice.
my back feels freaking fantastic because I've been doing all these crazy pretzel poses and stuff that I shouldn't be doing. But dude, it loosens me up. I feel I should be doing that all the time because it's definitely good for you. So
Yeah, honestly, the stretching and the plyo, like I should do more of that. And I know, like when you do that, like you're so much, your joints, everything just feels so much better.
mhm. Yeah, rolling out of bed doesn't feel like you're like in a wheelchair, so
I know I'm gonna feel like that tomorrow. Gosh, like if it's this bad now, it's gonna be the 10 times worse.
yeah, no joke, dude. But yeah, so I think we had the first couple episodes had a couple good guests on, and I had we were chatting back and forth, and I was like, we should kind of rewind a little bit and do an episode where we kind of introduce Destin to our audience, and then also just kind of I don't know, set the stage a little bit for what we think this podcast is going to be about. And to be honest, guys, I think Destin will probably agree. Like, we don't necessarily like have these great plans for what we're going to do with this. A lot of this is just kind of like, hey, this sounds cool. Let's talk to this person. Let's talk to that person. So we don't like have even what we are going to do with this is sort of like we don't even know, but I've said it in the past is like my idea behind these regional episodes. The first place that I thought about was like the Great Lakes because it's such a like one. It's a big area. Encompasses how many states do the Great Lakes encompass? It's a lot.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah. I mean, Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, I believe touches Lake
yeah, it does.
Michigan.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. Yep.
Yeah, so it's 8 states, and then you have Canada. On the other side. And then there's like even extended because you have like uh, so how many Great Lakes are there? There's
I believe five.
yes, you have Erie.
It's Homes,
Mich-
Homes.
Okay, Huron, Ontario, Michigan,
Erie
um,
and
Erie,
Superior.
and Superior. And I
Hmm.
think the only one we touched on that probably doesn't have any sort of smallmouth, like at least attraction. I'm sure the smallmouth in it is Superior, correct? That
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
dig a
thought.
little bit more. I think there might be a bay or something that I'm sure someone fishes it. Huron and
It probably
Superior.
has huge smallmouth and nobody
Yeah,
even
like that's the
talks about
secret spot, right? But Huron and Superior, like geographically, are kind of like one thing. They just have like a narrow chute between them. So like,
Okay.
there's got to be some nice smallies in there too. I'm sure some guys once they start watching, they'll be like, "Hey, I fish Lake Superior or something." So hopefully we can get some guys to get some context on that too. Vacation spot. That's where I want to go. Catch them in Lake
Yeah, no
Superior.
joke, dude. You know, one place this is like totally not unrelated, but a little bit random. And I want to find a guest that does this. But have you ever heard of Beaver Island on Lake
No,
Michigan?
where's that? Is in Lake Michigan. Okay.
Yeah, so like Chris has like waxed poetic about these guys that go. Think it's similar to like where they either are pre-spawn or they're spawn up in the like super shallow water,
Hmm.
like in like Travers and that sort of thing. But it's an
Yeah, yeah.
island that has these real like huge flats. Like the islands doesn't have these like sheer drop offs. It's
Hmm.
like these big, huge flats around them, and these guys go out there and most of them I've seen they're in like have like push poles, almost like a um, like the salt flat type fishing, and they sight fish for these huge smallmouth. And I know that there's a lot of fly guys like to go out there. It's like a big thing. Fly fishermen go out there. So I think that's something we could find somebody that's doing that and
Oh,
have them
for
on because
sure.
that would be a super cool, like completely kind of different, style of fishing. But yeah, I mean, the Great Lakes encompasses a lot. Like you're in Erie, and we're gonna kind of dig into Destin's like background and all that a little bit. But then when you have like uh, here or Michigan, which is like that's more what I think of Great Lakes because I live in Indiana, and that's like
Yeah,
I
it's your
can run
frame of
up.
reference.
Yeah, like I can run up, I can be on Lake Michigan in like 2.5 hours, like just the little
Hmm.
part that dips into Indiana, which I have fished it, but I've never taken like my boat up there or anything. I've just done like bank stuff when I've been up there for other things. And then, I've vacationed all along like the Michigan coast there where it borders like Lake Michigan, which is all,
Hmm.
especially as you get up further, it gets super pretty. It's some
Oh
neat,
yeah, I've been up that
neat,
way. It
neat.
is nice.
Yeah, yeah, cool. I mean, you almost think it's like ocean, so it's like got
Hmm.
sandy beaches. It's a neat. The dunes up there are really cool. Um,
Erie's surprisingly very similar. We've got a lot of
yeah,
dunes. We've got a lot of those kind of beaches that people flock to. In the summer, it's really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I do not have enough experience with my Erie experience. Honestly, is relegated to going to Cedar Point,
Yep.
where I'm like, I always am like, I should bring a rod when I come here. Um, and then, which is different. It's almost like kind of industrial looking out
It's
there.
very, yes, it's
Yeah,
very
like
industrial in
that Port
Sandusky,
Clinton.
Port
Yeah,
Clinton.
it's always. And then I did do a vacation where we went. Me and my wife went out to there's Kelly's Island, which is like a park, I
Yeah, it's right
think.
in front of there. Yep. Yeah, you just go
Yeah,
out like a few miles, north.
and then there's one other island we went to that was super popular.
You probably
Um,
wanted to put in Bay, so it would have been
yeah,
North Bass Island, I believe, or one of the Bass
mm,
Islands,
it
South
was
Bass,
one.
North Bass.
There's like restaurants and stuff
That's
on
put
it.
in Bay.
Which
Yeah, you take the
okay,
ferry. Did you do the ferry
yeah,
out there?
yeah. We took the ferry. Yeah, so
Hmm.
it was cool. I do remember distinctly about that trip. Well, it was crazy. I did take a rod on that one, and I was on Kelly's Island, and there was a bass boat fishing a tournament. Like they were coming around the end, and I was like, I had like a backpack with some lures in it and stuff, and I was throwing a spook out on these like these rock piles, dude, I had an absolute giant just crushed this thing. And I'm like, oh my God. I was like, and his guys are right here. And I'm kind of like, sorry, because they were like right there. I like totally took a fish that could have been theirs. And it was like a 5 pound largemouth. I was like,
Oh
oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. There's some
I was like,
largemouth out there too.
I was like, how gay is this? I come to Erie and I catch a largemouth. Like, I don't want anything to do with this.
I mean, I
Uh,
think you have a largie's hat, so I mean,
I do.
that must be what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, it's different. And then you have Ontario, which is like part of the St. Lawrence River, Thousand Islands, and then
Hmm.
that is the lake, which is I would be interested to see like I'll ask you. I'm going to pose a question later. You can think about it now,
Hmm.
but like trying to be as unbiased as you can. Like, which Great Lake is the best Great Lake for smallmouth? So
Okay.
I'm gonna let you answer that. And it size, numbers, all that stuff. I want you to answer. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
it's going to be a kind of like a two pronged for size and numbers. I think it'll be hard to
okay,
answer one, but yes, yes,
okay,
the wheels are turning.
okay. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as like what the podcast's about and stuff, I mean, eventually Destin's taking this thing over, and I want him to just do whatever he wants to do with it. But from in my mind, I think it encompasses like talking about, like what we've done, like have guys that fish these places, on and just, their experiences and history. That's what was the cool thing about having Steve Clapper on. It's like he's been fishing that since the 80s.
He's
And
the
it's like,
OG, man. He's one of the
yeah,
OGs for sure.
well, it's super cool to hear, like, how, like, oh, there was life before gobies. It's like,
Hmm.
that was like a really distinct thing that people, you probably are like, oh, that's just always been, a thing. And I would imagine the smallmouth were probably a little skinnier back then. They didn't
Yeah,
have
they
quite
weren't
the,
nearly the blimp size like they are now.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So different, changes. And I wouldn't even mind having, some like, some more like scientific guests on that
I know
maybe,
somebody that I was just thinking about today, so we'll have to talk
yeah,
about that off this one. But yeah,
yeah.
I got someone who's very involved with that. I think would be good.
Yeah, yeah, because I think we did the first Ozark show yesterday, and I was talking with Jake about it, and we were like, yeah, bringing awareness to topics that like are just nobody's not talking enough about. I think these fishing shows or podcasts are cool, and I know there's a lot of other guys doing cool things, so I definitely not demeaning it all, but I do know that there's other topics that just don't get talked about enough. It's like that they're not sexy, like, oh, this is lure using this is that, but like, hey, this is like what the future of this looks like if we don't, change some stuff, and like really just from a um, selfish mindset of like we want these fisheries to be better and better and better and better throughout the years, and that doesn't typically happen by accident. Like you know there's long histories of entire fisheries getting destroyed from human
Oh yeah.
negligence,
Let me step
and
away for a second. I'm gonna grab you something on that topic. Hold on one second.
yeah, go ahead. We'll just have a little bit of an awkward pause here. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if you can see that
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So this is a local guy. He runs an organization called Sons of Lake Erie. It's like a conservation group, kind of like what we were talking about. So this is
yeah.
all about like commercial fishing history from like back in the 1800s in Erie, PA, the whole way to now. So like I've been like
Wow.
engrossed in this thing, and like I read a ton of Great Lakes books and things like this. This is really interesting. But like you're saying, like it shows populations of whitefish and all this stuff like just being decimated and just extinct basically because of mismanagement and poor conservation efforts and stuff and just not really understanding the dynamics of the fisheries. So, I mean, that's where the science and the conservation, has come in and at least helped. I don't think it's perfect, but I mean, I agree. I think, if we want this to be a great system of in a fishery for smallies for generations to come, like we gotta do the right things now and not make the same mistakes that have been made in history. And like Steve
Yeah.
Clapper's a great example. You can only know where you're going when you know where you've been. Like, I think Steve's a great example of, like, he's seen the whole metamorphosis of like the smallie fishing on Lake Erie, but he's fished Ontario and the other places as well. But
Mhm.
starting out with someone like him, he's such a great resource and just a good guy. I mean, he knows his stuff for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I think there's just a lot of different directions you can go with the show like this, where it's like, I don't want it to be just like, oh, this is all fishing all the time. Obviously, it's a smallmouth show 'cause that's what we're going to talk about. But like, there's just a lot of interesting stuff, man. I mean, the stuff that we don't even talk about that much that makes, to me, one of the coolest things when I catch a smallmouth, like where I live, I know that fish is native to that waterway. And I
Mm-hmm.
always think of like, it's like, how long have those been there? Like, what's the history of
Oh
smallmouth? Like,
yeah,
my company at Chegan, like that's a Ojibwe term of like, that's like way back in the day, like the Algonquin tribe was like interacting with those fish, probably eating a lot of them, but it's like, that's just there's a cool history. I've heard stories of, now I don't know how, if they're native to the Great Lakes. I feel like they are, but I'm not 100% sure. If that, because I know they're native to the Mississippi River basin. That
smallmouth.
was, yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they are. They're native here.
okay. Because
Yep.
I know that in certain areas, they would like take smallmouth in trains and like put them in
Really?
waterways. Yeah. There's some crazy stuff because you think about like, there's places where like inland lakes in Canada. Like, well, how did they get there? Like that, they're not native to there. And that was, they got trained in to Canada. That's how they
Hmm.
got there. And I was like, I don't know who had the idea back in the day to throw some smallmouth in a train, but
I
they
like
did.
it.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I would like to just make this all encompassing about the Great Lakes and everything that that whole ecosystem, the commerce around there. I think is cool. It might be cool to have some like business owners around there, like Docks Tackles. I don't think they're technically Great Lakes. They're a little more inland, but
Yeah, they're
um,
pretty close to Lake Ontario. It would be their
okay,
like home lake, but they're very involved with Lake Erie too, like in that
okay.
Western New York corridor for sure.
Yeah. Say even having like, just spotlighting some places around there that highlight all the guides and the businesses that are around there. It's just I think it's a cool thing for us to be able to do with this platform. So I don't,
Absolutely.
you know, like I said, I feel like eventually Destin's going to be the, driving force behind what we're doing with this if he wants to keep doing it. And I hope he does, because he's been an awesome guest or co-host so far. So with that said, I'd like to like dig into Destin a little bit. And I know we had you on Smalley Talk before, and to be, if I'm being honest, like I don't remember how that episode went.
It's been a while,
'Cause,
man. Yeah.
yeah, it's been a minute. And I think we had met through some mutual friends, and hopefully we'll get out to fish with each other for the first time. I think we're looking at the first week of May, which I'm pretty pumped about, bud.
I
So
think you made it out there, man. It's the way the weather's going. That should be prime time.
I mean, I've never been fishing ever in my life and thought, dang, I wish I wouldn't have went fishing. So even
Well,
if
yeah,
it sucks,
me
if
either.
it's bad weather, I don't care, dude. I just like being out there. So I like the challenge. This is like going to be a new thing for me. So I'm so looking forward to that. It should be good, even if we don't do well. So, but I have a feeling we will. But
I do too.
yeah, man. So give me a little bit of like just your background, how you grew up, how you got into fishing, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up just down the road from Lake Erie, about an hour down the interstate, right where I-79 and I-80 meets, which is Grove City. It's just a little town. I lived in the woods, with a creek at the, behind us. So I was in the creek like from when I was a little kid up until, I moved. My mom and I moved. I lived with my grandparents too. Um, I was at the creek. I was catching crawdads. I was using them for bait, catching smallmouth, and about anything else, rock bass, trout when they stocked them. But I love smallmouth. Like that was always my favorite. It was bass. Did a lot of pond hopping and farm pond stuff. But I mean, even when I was a kid, like I wanted to be a pro fisherman. Like I wanted to fish. I love the science aspect of it too. One of my uncles is a marine biologist. He runs a lot of aquariums all over the country for Tillman Fertitta, who's like the billionaire buyer. I don't know if you've seen that show on TV.
Fertitta is like UFC guy. He's like one of the main. Is that the
Is he
same
involved with that
family?
too? Probably.
Yeah.
He's a guy in Texas. Like he owns a ton of like rainforest cafes and those
Okay.
kind of things. Yeah. So yeah, that's what my uncle does. So like I mean, it was awesome. He married my aunt, and he fit in very well. Like we were always talking fish and doing fish stuff. But even his sons, my cousins, are all into fishing and stuff. And the oldest one's going to get his doctorate in like marine biology. He's like he went to Texas A&M. He's down in like uh, down on the Texas coast now doing that, getting his master's. But I mean, fish has just like always been a part of my life. I wanted to fish professionally. I always loved being around fish. I like studying their behavior. I love like understanding more and more about them. Um, my background in school, I got an environmental science degree and biology degree. I got to go electroshock fish in creeks and stuff in classes here in Erie. It was awesome. I went to school here. I played football here too. Had quite a few injuries, which I was just talking about my back injury. That was one I flared up from then
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when I was growing up, I came up to Erie all the time. Like we'd come steelhead fish. We'd go in the bay and I'd wade and catch smallmouth when they'd move into the bay because I didn't have a boat until I was like graduating college. I got a little tin can, like 14-footer from a good friend Mark Hughes from my first bass club. I used to fish tournaments in there and be bailing water while we are like calling fish and stuff out there.
Been there, bud.
Yeah, yeah, the aluminum boat life.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so like I started a college fishing club there at Gannon University is where I went.
Oh, cool.
Fish as its co-angler on the many circuits. I won Angler of the Year as a co-angler and was top 3 in many circuits, Toyotas, Bassmaster Opens, all that stuff. Had success, at that level, and then I moved up to the pro and had success pretty quickly. My first top 10 was at Lake Erie. That's where I met Steve Clapper. It was in Sandusky
That's
in
awesome.
2015. Yeah, and then it took me a couple more years, and then I made the Elite Series, which was awesome. Great experience. Love it. My daughter was born right after my first tournament, so it was a lot going on at once. It was COVID happening. It was quite an adventure for sure. But I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't. I have no regrets there. And then I've kind of shifted more. I've had a guide business. I used to guide in Florida in the winters and stuff, but I stopped doing it when my daughter was coming. And so I've had the guide business up here at Erie where I was just kind of like I was full time ish, and then I backed off a little bit and was just doing whenever I was around, and then I just ramped it back up in the last year or so, and it's the Lord has blessed it and it's been good. So I'm thankful for that. And that's growing. And, we have roots here. We live here right by the lake. I'm about 4 minutes to the end of my road to put in at my ramp here on the lake. And, we've, dug into this community. I mean, I love it. I love the fishing here. It's amazing. I think it's world class. I don't think there's a better freshwater fishery in the world than Lake Erie. Cumulatively, not just bass is a great part of it, but there's just so much to it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's a little bit of
Well,
my
man, I
smallmouth
could,
background.
I could tell you this, dude. when I come up in May, I'm definitely going to eat some walleye, some perch. We're
Oh,
going to
you
be
have
getting
to.
some good stuff because I
Yes.
haven't had a good walleye dinner in a while, bud.
We got a little
So,
hole in the wall restaurant here, right down by my house. That's where we want to go. Little
okay.
dive bar
Those
type
the
place.
best. Yeah,
Yes,
for
definitely the
sure.
best.
Um, well, cool. And I want to give you a chance to talk about this too because I know your faith is important to you, and
Hmm.
I grew up in a very religious household. We'll get to know each other when we talk about that on the
Oh
boat
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. You've alluded to
Um,
that a little bit.
yeah, I respect that about you. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit because I know that's a big part of your life. So
Yeah. So I mean, I was raised probably similar to you in the sense of like it was. It wasn't like as much of a choice when I was a kid, right? It was more
yeah,
of like you're doing this. I was raised Catholic, and a lot of good people that I know still, even from the church that I went to, and like it just was not the best experience for me. I didn't feel like that was. I didn't feel like I had a connection with God truly at that point. I had questions and things, and just I didn't feel like things were getting answered. And just going my own way, God kind of just pulled me, and put people in my life that really, you know, pushed me to a real relationship, with Jesus and God. And when I was 28, I actually essentially had everything in my life that I wanted. Right, I had the girl, I had money, no debt. I lived on a house on the water in Florida. Life was good essentially, but like it was empty. There was something more. Like I had everything, but it just wasn't enough, right? And things were starting to fall apart in other ways. And the people that were put in my life really started pointing me to God and telling me their stories, and kind of the situations that happened to them and the pivot points in their own lives. And I was like, all right, I'm open to this. I'll try this. And it essentially, a couple months later, like I was like, this is real. This is definitely real. And I gave my life to Jesus, and it's completely changed the trajectory of my life. Not everything is always perfect in our lives, but I'm at peace and very much content in that. My relationship with God, and what happens to me otherwise, I'm not as worried about. But I'm very very thankful for my relationship with Jesus and God.
yeah, that's awesome, man. I definitely like I've like I said, we'll get to know each other better on the boat. I feel like it's when those
Oh
conversations
yeah, those are
butter the
natural.
truck. Yeah. Um, but yeah, like this I would say this podcast and like just my friend group in general can be a little rough around the edges. We're probably I would consider like a ragtag type of, you know, definitely not
Motley
straight
crew.
laced. Yeah, yeah, definitely not straight laced. But I always like try to be respectful of people, and I feel like you are one of those guys that you can tell like you have a lot of conviction for that part of your life, but you don't like you're easy to be around. It's like you're non-judgmental and like you
I'm not.
don't
Yeah,
get
that's
all
not
like
my place to
yeah,
judge you.
yeah, you get worked up and plus you could just like you can hang out with us like and again like my friend group, even the diversity of the kind of people that are in it are like all over the map. There's like
Mhm.
people that are like, complete heathens, and you have people that are, like real, religious guys and stuff. And I think as long as you have like a mutual respect
Of
for each
course.
other and you don't, you're, and really like the teachings of Jesus, like were not judgmental. Those were very much like he was hanging out with he was hanging out with like the street guys. He wasn't
Mhm.
hanging out with all the religious guys. So it was yeah, it's just cool, man. I have a lot of respect for that. It's one reason I was kind of drawn to be friends with you because I felt like you're just like you get it, and some people don't. You get around some people and you're just like, yeah, they're kind of fake. They don't like, I can see pretty quickly that you're just like an authentic dude. You have principles, but you're not, judgmental. And like I said, I respect that a lot. So,
Well, John,
um,
I was out of control at a period of my life, and I not even just out of control, like different things. Like I lived certain ways that I don't now, right? And
sure.
it's not judgmental of other people. It's more of like I know what it's like to live a certain way, and like I can meet people there, and like that's what's been beneficial for me. Like because I mentor a lot of kids, especially that are in college, even from our church and stuff. Just knowing what that's like, and knowing like where
Yeah.
I went wrong, and I might be able to help you. Like that's the benefit too, but not in a
Yeah. Yeah.
judgmental way. You know,
Yeah. You have to meet people where they're at. Like if you want to make
you
any difference in their life, that's for 100% sure. I've learned that with my kids. Ironically enough, it's like you gotta like
they force you to.
yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, pretty much.
You don't have a
Yeah, man.
choice, or it's not going to work. Like that's I learned the same thing.
Yeah, I know, dude. It gets worse as they get older. Let me tell you.
That's what
Um,
everybody says.
yeah. So I want to go back into your kind of background. So the honestly, like that's another thing you don't go around like telling everybody like about all your accomplishments, which is to me cool because I hate being around people that is like always got to tell you about what they're doing and what they've done. Um, but like, so you made it to the Elite Series, which I feel like it's just like you're like, oh yeah, I was on the Elite Series. Like that's a huge deal, dude. That's like
Yeah,
that is basically like playing in the NFL. As
yeah.
a bass
For our
fisherman.
world, it is.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell me what that experience was like, and like I know the lifestyle's tough. I know that just
Hmm.
because I've talked to enough guys on it. Tell me what that is like, and what it felt like to be, and what was like your top moment inside of that part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously, most of us when we're growing up, we're aware, especially if we have an interest in bass fishing, like what is the Elite Series? Like it's the top level of fishing. It's been for forever. It was the only one for a long time where you actually had to qualify, and you take a couple guys every year. It's 100 spots, the best anglers in the world, and you got to earn it, which just makes it that much more special when you do, because it's hard work, man. It's a grind to get there, and you give up a lot of holidays and a lot of experiences to do so. So it's a sacrifice like anything. If you have a business, I mean, you make sacrifices. um, it's awesome. Like for me, it was never about fame or anything or even the money. It was I love to fish. Like that's the highest level. Like that's what I want to do. If I could do it a career, like that's what I wanted to do. Um, I literally just love figuring out bass. I love catching them. I love competing too. I was an athlete my whole life. But more so with me, it's always about competing against myself. Like if I'm getting better, like that's what I'm worried about. Like if I can be better than I was yesterday, like that's my point of reference. And it was a super cool ride. Like it's a big deal, especially when I'm down south. Like when I was traveling, like you're kind of like a rock star down there. People know what's going on. It's not like up here, like, oh, you fish? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what else do you do? Like, like, like my mom's telling me,
Yeah,
like, yeah, he's only like, oh, what does he really do? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, it's
Different
different.
climate. Tennessee, Alabama,
Yeah.
Georgia. That area, the bass fishing is like known. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's
They know who you are.
Indiana
I'm
is
like,
kind
oh
of
wow.
known, but
Yeah,
yeah,
Indiana's
different,
like right
different.
on that fringe. You guys are like
Yeah,
right on the edge. It's more so than
yeah,
here, I would say for
yeah,
sure. But yeah, like people just they know who you are. They know how you did in a tournament. They're asking, they're blowing you up on social media and stuff. Like a guy just messaged me the other day. He was there when I made the top 10 at Santee my rookie year, and he was like watching me on a boat, and he's like, man, like he's like, I watched you that day. Like, I just want to say, like, that was awesome. And like, I hope you're doing well. This was like, mind you, 5 years ago, which is just like out of the blue was like super sweet. And he's a
yeah.
Marine. Like
That's
that's
sick.
really, important for me. Like my grandfather's a Marine. That's how he raised me. Like he'd tell me to
Mhm.
drop a 10 if he saw me walking through the house. Like that's how I was raised. So I get along with a lot of those guys. But you know, it's definitely it's a mental grind. There's a lot of financial things that people don't realize. I had full scope of understanding of that, which was useful. Um, you got to have good sponsorships, which I did. I was very fortunate and blessed. I worked with Edge, which was also a career for me for 10 years. But they very much supported my fishing. You know, I took a lot of customers around the country fishing, you know, major league, minor league, groundskeepers, college guys. Like I built a lot of good relationships with people that way as well. And just, you know, was trying to offer good experiences for, you know, our customers, you know, when I worked with Edge. And, you know, that's a big part of the sport. You got to be a marketer, you got to be a relationship person, you got to work with sponsors. Fishing, you know, the results are really good. You got to have those, but you have to be, you know, both. You got to be both. If you want to have
Mhm.
sustainability, you got to have both. And you know, it's cutthroat. It's tough. You know, there's a lot of. I'm not going to say it's like super backstabby, but I mean, there is that element of it. Like you're it's an individual sport. You know, even if you're working with guys, you're competing against each other, so you don't know necessarily always who to trust and stuff like that. I had some good people that I'd work with, especially in the opens. Like I had really good relationships still. You know, just good partnerships. Essentially, it's like a business. You know, you're helping each
Mhm.
other. But um, you know, like I said, my time there, I enjoyed it. Had some really high moments, had some low moments. I had, you know, some top tens. I had a couple chances to win some big $100,000 tournaments, and I got in those positions, which was such a blessing. It didn't happen that way, but it's all God's plan, and you know I don't regret a bit of it, you know, whatsoever. It's hard on your family for sure.
I was gonna
A lot of
say it's got to be
travel.
hard to raise a family. That's
It
like
is.
the travel aspect of it's probably pretty crazy.
It is. You know, and a couple of years after, like, you know, God was just putting it on my heart, like, we need to shift. I want you to do something else right now, you know, because if you don't have a relationship with your family, like in the right relationship, it just doesn't work. Like, it's not a good thing. It's not a good standard set, especially when you're the man and the husband and the leader of your family. Like, you have to be that. And
Right.
sometimes that means making a sacrifice, you know, with what you want. Most of the time, it means that, and
Yep.
sometimes it's really hard. But you know, I've had to make that and shift, and I'm very content with the path that I'm on right now, and just happy to do what the next thing is. You know, whatever prompts that I'm given, I'm just trying to walk that way.
Cool, man. So what was your like all like what was your like core memory of the Elite Series? Like, man, that was it. What's your
Yeah,
thing?
the two. I mean, obviously the top tens, but in 2020 Santee. So it was towards the end of the season. COVID, we backed up a bunch of tournaments. They rescheduled everything was mishmashed. So it was in October. We were fishing the whole way into like almost December, man. It was like November, I think, was our last tournament. So we are at Santee. I make the top 10. And mind you, it's COVID. We don't have crowds or hardly anybody at these tournaments for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
so I get out there on the stage, I bring my fish in, and there's just thousands of people. I was like, this is what the Elite Series is. Like, you're on the stage and you just like feel that energy. Like, these people love fishing, and like just being a part of that, like, you all love fishing, and like that was just so real. Like, that was that real moment. You know, it I'll never forget that for sure. Like, that was awesome. And then at Champlain, like, you know, I had a really, really good chance to win on the last day. Like, they basically played it up like I was gonna win, you know, or had, you know, was right there. Um, you know, a good friend and mentor of mine and his wife, Rich Damianos and Eileen Damianos came. My mom, my aunt drove up. It's like 9 hours. People think
Oh man,
Champlain's
that's
close to me. It's not.
a lot of pressure.
Yeah. No, well,
Yeah.
people think Champlain's close to me. It's not. It's like 8, 9 hours from me, you know, where I grew up. So, um, yeah, like everyone came up. It was so cool. Like all the people, I was standing at a campground, and the people from the campground, like all of them came, were like holding signs and like hooping and hollering, and like they're every day I'd come home, they'd be like trying to talk me up and like, give me motivation. It was awesome. Like it was just a perfect week. I didn't end up winning. I had a really good tournament. I think I finished sixth. And just having those people there, like people that have supported me and loved me for so long, like that was so cool, man. It was just such a great moment for sure.
I assume you're catching smallmouth there.
I think I was the only person. I completely 50-50 mixed bag every
Oh,
day.
really? I
Mm-hmm.
know there's both there. I know you can win doing both. So,
You can.
uh,
Yes.
yeah.
It's more smally now, but the largemouth then, I had a really good largemouth bite, like a sneaky one. And I just, it fizzled out. At the very end of the day, I needed one more bite essentially. And I just didn't get that last bite, that big bite. I had a good bag, but I didn't have that last big bite I needed.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly what I feel like, you talk about being around people who love fishing, and it's like, that is one of the things about fishing that I love, and I'm sure that a lot of people do, is just like, you just never know what's going to happen, man. Like
No,
it's like a
different
you
every
know
day.
yeah, like you look at how it compares to like different sports of like, when Peyton Manning drops back and he throws a ball to Marvin Harrison, like as long as they do what they're good at, that should work. Like those guys are gonna connect on that pass because they've worked and they worked and they worked. You can work all you want on fish. Dude, sometimes, the fish make the rules. I mean,
Oh
they
yeah,
really do. The fish just make the rules. So, like, some days it's like you think, just as soon as you think you got it all figured out, then they'll humble you real fast and be like, yeah, you suck. Like, you're
they
not.
love
So,
to they love to do that, man. Yes, they definitely
yeah.
do.
And I would imagine, what in your opinion, like, so you transitioned into this, guide business, and obviously you've guided different places and stuff, so you have a pretty big bucket of experience to draw from. Uh, what's more pressure, fishing in a big tournament or putting a client on fish as a guide?
It's pretty close, honestly. Like I feel like sometimes it is more pressure, honestly, guiding because you're in control of less of those variables, because the skill level of someone being able to cast to a certain spot, like
Yeah, I
there's an
wasn't
element
even thinking about that. I was thinking
lack
about
of
the fish. I was
control.
like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Like overall, I mean, it's what goes well. Like I have a lot of good clients. Most people are very coachable, and we have amazing fisheries, so that helps. But there's definitely been some times like, man, come on, like let's let them figure it out, or get them a bite and get them a clue, like how this bite's gonna go. So yeah, it can be a lot of pressure. When I was tournament fishing, there's times I put a lot of pressure on myself, but honestly, even on the elites, like it wasn't, that much. I was fortunate in the support I had from sponsorships and stuff. Like I could go out there and relatively fish free, in that sense. I mean, obviously I have a lot of other family and different things that I have to maintain and keep that in balance as well. But as far as that, like I was in a good position mentally in the sense of like I went out there and just tried to execute the best plans, and it either worked or some days it didn't, and some days the score sheet showed a different story than what I saw like in the day too. It's just
yeah.
it's an inches game. Like fish jump off, hooks break, bend, like those kind of things mean a lot in bass fishing. Like the margin for error is tiny, tiny, tiny.
Mhm.
An ounce could
Yeah,
mean multiple spots in a tournament. One fish could mean a top 10 and not even get a check. Like that's how tight it can be, especially when you're fishing against the best in the world. And I love
okay.
that competition. I absolutely love that because that gets you up and going every day.
Yeah, those. I mean, the level, even honestly, since I grew up watching, the I think I grew up watching KVD, that kind of era
Me too.
of guys. That was kind of who I mean, I grew up watching Bill Dance on TV and stuff, but I didn't, I wasn't there for the early days of tournament fishing. Um, but those guys, I feel like at that time, other than like a Kevin Van Dam, you're like, hey, I maybe I could go do that. And nowadays, like I feel lost. Like I'm like, dude, I would have to freaking learn how to use electronics for 5 years before I could even like remotely think about doing it. And
Oh
I feel
yeah,
like I'm a good fisherman, it's like I know what I'm doing, but like the level of like layers that those guys have sort of um the skill sets that they've peeled back with primarily I would say electronics, and
hmm
which has enabled them to understand the fish at a different level than
for
like
sure.
even someone that just doesn't know that, because you can see those fish chase your lure now, and like oh, they're here this time of year. I've watched even recently, I think it was like 2 years ago, that it was Trey McKinney's rookie season, and they were at Fork, and he was like scoping a like largemouth in the middle of this creek channel, like just like completely isolated
Oh yeah,
fish. And it's like up until forward facing sonar, a lot of people just didn't know those fish were there. They just wouldn't ever fish for
you
them because
never
they're
would
like,
fish it. Yeah.
yeah, because there's only one of them, there's not like
hmm
a school of them. So they're like, they're lone wolves, but they're big fish. And I mean, who knows why they're there? I'm sure there's a lot of, you know, theories is like, well, this is fish is doing this or this is doing that. But ultimately, like, those fish they're a living creature and they make decisions based on, you know, and the other thing is like they are underwater. So you can't actually observe them like you can like a deer or something
hmm
that, you can see where they've been. So this is it's a little bit of a mystery. So, um, yeah, man, the level of competition. I was texting Christine Fisher about this. I don't know if you know her or not. She's
I
like
know
one of
who
the
she is. Yeah.
yeah, she's a big kayak, and then now she's doing some boat tournaments. I think she's sponsored by Ranger.
hmm
And I was like, kind of like, hey, you can go out there and do that. And she's like, Josh, she's like, trust me when I say this. She's like, those guys are good, like really good. And it is, man. It is crazy to kind of see how that's evolved even the past 10 years. It's just like,
It
yeah, kids are
has.
coming out of college, like, you know, been doing that stuff since they've been old enough to even cast the line. It's just second
Oh
nature
yeah.
to them.
Yeah,
So,
just the learning curve is so much less for that generation because they
yep,
have YouTube, they have all these things that
yep,
like multiply that knowledge before you even have to get on the water. You can understand this stuff. I'm kind of I think we're similar age, but even on the elites, like I found myself like I had some really good tournaments, but there was times where I'm like, gosh dang it, why didn't I commit to it? Like I would try to fish my traditional type fishing and instincts, and I couldn't compete, with traditional just live scope, just doing it the whole day, committing to that. And it took me time, to really adapt and understand like this is what you got to do 90% of the time if you are going to compete in that level. And if you're not doing it, you're getting left behind. Just understanding the nuances of the technology and how to fish your bait and how the fish react. It shifted so quickly. Being like a millennial, um,
yeah,
we're kind of in between the
yeah. We're kind of
having.
sandwiched in between all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're kind of in between. Like we had some technology starting when we were growing up. It wasn't really like established till halfway, probably through our lives,
Mhm.
really. And then, growing up with it, like even my daughter, like I'm just like, how do you know all this stuff? Like it's just even she's 6 years old, like it's so expedited. And
Yeah.
it's good, like because there is these resources and you just have to use them and learn. Like you just have to really put in the time and learn.
Yeah. I mean, even like you said, it's like I don't even think about YouTube, but like I think about all the things in my life I learned to do through YouTube, and I'm like, yeah, I don't use it for fishing very much just because I don't feel like, you know, I should probably. I feel like it's like I don't need to, watch, people show me how to do something. Like I know how to go catch fish, but like. yeah, it's like in working on my car or fixing something in my house or something. Like I'm always on YouTube, learning
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
and
me too.
you can definitely do the same thing with fishing. Teach you even just how to use the tools.
Yes.
Like I grew up fishing tournaments with my dad, and he just never. And we always had sonar on the boat, but like he didn't know other than like, oh, here's the depth, here's the water temperature. Like he wasn't like looking at like he wasn't fishing in the middle of the lake, like looking at structure and like, oh, fish set up here. And part of that was because his electronics weren't good enough to do that. And
Yes.
the other part is he didn't grow up with it. So, whereas like now, yeah, you can hop on YouTube for and binge for a couple days and probably be pretty proficient in at least how to use the sonar itself and be like, oh yeah,
Absolutely.
I can do this or do that with it. Change the settings here. I changed the settings on my freaking side scanning on my jet boat. I was like, holy crap, dude! I didn't even know that could look like that. It looks awesome now. Um, but well, let's shift a little bit because we're coming up on an hour here, so
Yeah.
I want to wrap it up. But I want to ask you some questions about um, so, like, you grew up around the Great Lakes and all that. What makes Erie special? Like, what's it
Mm.
all about?
I mean, I think part of it is somewhat of a bias, just this being our lake. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, Northwest PA, and like this is our lake, and I love it. It's just such a we have like you guys like a lot of small lakes, inland lakes. They just don't compare, right? I mean, the amount of fish that are in Lake Erie, the amount of bait, like how big these fish get, the variety of fish we have, like it's just unmatched, or, at least around here. And we have this tremendous resource, in this region, from the Midwest over here to New York and in Ontario. Um, just being in this region, like what I think it's 80% of all the fresh water in the United States is right here in these lakes, like
Mhm.
80%. Erie specifically, over 50% of the fish in all of the Great Lakes live here because it's so fertile. It's shallower, it's fertile, it's warmer because it's the southernmost one. It's there's something about like the mystique about it being so treacherous to navigate, which also adds a little element of intrigue to it, right? There's been so many shipwrecks here. It can turn on a dime. It's a sketchy place if you don't know how to navigate here. And that's another element. You got to be very proficient at operating a boat here. You got to know how to drive it, when to go, when to not go. You don't want to be unsafe here. Like I've seen there's too many cases of people getting in situations where they never come back from, and it's not worth it. To go pleasure boat or catch a fish, you got to be smart. But it's just the 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 water is beautiful, like in the spring mostly and early, like it's just clear. It looks awesome. Like it's like a salt water, like an ocean almost. Like you never know sometimes what you're going to catch. Um, there's the smallmouth here have the potential to be world records. I think there's not another. I mean, like Ontario has produced, I think, a 9 pounder about a year ago. Lake Erie produced a 10-15, which a couple years ago. I don't know of any other Great Lake that's produced a 10-pound smallmouth, and I'm sure there's bigger. Um, I think the world record is here. I think you have all the elements to grow one. I think it's hard to consistently target those really big fish here because so much of the year they're nomadic. So when you do get those opportunities, like the really prime windows, spring, fall, like you always know that your next cast, it's like Florida, like your next cast could be an absolute monster wall hanger type, fish. And I think that adds to it. Um, there's such a tradition here of fishing. This was Erie, PA, where I'm at. I live just on the outside, like in the farm country in Erie, PA, on the east side, almost to New York. It was like the hub for fishing, for commercial fishing. It was like the central location for many many years. And there's just people love fishing. It's ingrained into this in the community here and around the Lake Erie. Like it's just a special place. And all the rest of the Great Lakes are awesome too. I fished almost all of them. I think the only one I haven't fished is Superior. And I love all of them. I mean, I will say Thousand Islands has got some awesome smallmouth fishing as well, but I think our top end size is better. Our potential here at Lake Erie is better. I've never seen a 10-pound smallmouth caught in New York, in any water that wouldn't be, Erie. I don't think they've caught a
Mhm.
10 in out of Buffalo yet, but um, you know, the ingredients are there. Like it's just a special place.
Get me pumped up, bud. I might move up
Yeah,
to
you're
I
getting
might
all
move up
jazzed.
further north. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, like the world record thing is, kind of a crazy thought that, that could happen. I know, yeah, like I've seen that 10. I know there's been some 10 or close to 10s out of Door Shack over
Yes,
the
that place has got
last
some giants.
yeah, it's a completely different,
It's
it's
a
almost like
reservoir, river
this.
reservoir.
Yeah, it's a wild place. But yeah, it's awesome to talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about for one, and like has that passion. That's why I'm really excited to fish with you. Because it's yeah, it'll probably that time will probably go by really fast because I eat that stuff up, dude. Um,
Oh, you're gonna enjoy it, man. I hope we get good
yeah,
weather and you get a full take of what this place has to offer.
yeah. To be clear, if I have to choose, like I'd rather catch less fish but go after the monsters than
I'm
have
game
just
with
like a
that, man.
fun filled day. So I just so you know, I'm
I
okay
can
with
do either.
grinding it out. Yeah. Yeah, I might change my mind if we fish like 2 days and don't catch much, but I
Yeah,
think
that's not
it
gonna happen.
yeah, in general, I've shifted definitely to that more like trophy, like, hey, I want to catch the biggest of the big, things. Um, but okay, so super cool. Let's think here. Okay, I posed the other question, so and I feel like you've already answered it, but
Somewhat.
what's the best of the Great Lakes and why?
Comprehensively, Erie is the best. Um, Smallmouth, I just said like because the top end size. I think Ontario has a better size distribution and overall population, but I think most of it is confined largely by the mouth of the St. Lawrence and like within 20 miles of that. I think a lot of Lake Ontario is very deep and not very conducive to the smallmouth. It's like less fertile. There's a lot of sections of Lake Ontario that are more salmon and that kind of stuff. Lake Erie, the whole lake has smallmouth, like every inch of it, and big ones. Uh, I think, like I said, I will tip my hat to St. Lawrence and Thousand Islands and Lake Ontario for that. It is an awesome fishery. I love it. But comprehensively Erie for the smallmouth, the walleye fishery is absolutely bonkers. Um, Even the trout fishery. I mean, Pennsylvania stocks more steelhead trout than any other state. Um, Plus, we have a really good lake trout population, which is absurd. I mean, sometimes in the fall, we're catching 50, 60, 75
Yeah,
lake
I've
trout in a
seen
day.
pictures of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's insane.
yeah,
It's just there's so much bait here. Like these predator fish just open their mouth and fish swim into their mouth. That's the benefit of being fertile. I'd say the knock on Erie is the algae blooms in the summer on the west side. They have a lot of ag runoff, and that is definitely a concern that they're trying to address better. Overall, we don't get as much of that on the central east basin, um, but that is definitely a concern on the west side. But I think they're doing a decent job of working on that issue, with the farmers and different industries and stuff like that. But I mean, all of them have industrial issues, that we're trying to get out of the industrial age and really like
oh yeah,
focus on the recreation and what the
yeah,
resource that we have, So, I want to hopefully be, a voice for that and a bridge.
yeah. That's cool, man. Yeah, any place as big as Erie, I'm sure if you look back in history, it's probably taken quite a bit of abuse just because of it's a resource, this huge resource that back in the day, man, you just open up a factory right on the river and just dump all your crap right
Hmm.
into the lake. It's just like how
Yeah.
it was, and the fish just kind of like, oh well, fishing's whatever. So it's cool to see even invasive stuff like the goby is like like benefited smallmouth,
Hmm.
which there's probably a lot of controversy around that too.
There is.
Do you
There's a
do
lot
you
of mixed opinions.
are the zebra mussels? Is that a thing in Erie? Is
Oh
that
yeah, yeah. The whole
yeah?
Great Lakes system's got them, and Erie's got a ton, just like St. Lawrence.
Mhm.
But that's been a benefit in the sense of like it's
They're filter
cleaned up the
feeders,
water.
and they
Yeah,
yeah
you know who
yeah
doesn't like them is industry because it clogs pipes. That's the main issue. And like on a microscopic level, it does disrupt the ecosystem because they're filtering everything. So it is changing
yeah.
some of that as well. But overall, I mean, it's made the visual sight feeder type predators proliferate in the system, the whole Great Lakes, because they're in everywhere. As a result, it's helped in a lot
Mm.
of ways. It's a give and take. And it balances itself out overall. It's still a problem, but I think it's not as much of a problem. I'd say there's more resources and ways to deal with it, but overall, it's done that for sure. I don't think it's all good. No, they're
I,
not from here.
do you guys have Asian carp in
Not that
Erie?
they've said there. So there's that shipping canal from Chicago to Lake Michigan that they're trying to. They have like electric things and they poison it. I'm sure there's a few in there, but it hasn't become a problem yet, thankfully. But that would not be good if they get in there for sure.
I mean, we have them in all of our rivers.
All of them,
Um,
jeez.
yeah, every one. I've caught them in every single. Well, besides some of the smaller like creeks, but I've caught them in. Yeah, they actually don't seem to bother the smallmouth, but I'm sure
Yeah,
it's like you don't really know the effects, for several years, but yeah, they're nasty, dude.
well, they
Nasty.
they eat everything too. I mean, they're just eating all the
Yeah,
small, plankton and
yeah,
stuff, and it's
yeah,
hurting, the environment.
yeah. You can snag them with a crankbait really easy.
I've done that in the Tennessee River. They'll take you for a
Yeah,
ride.
I know. Yeah, I've done it several times. Okay, so last question, and I wanted to I posed this to Jake on the Ozarks show.
Sure.
So now thinking about smallmouth, so we're not going to talk about fishing for anything else, just smallmouth fishing. If you had to fish from ice out till freeze up, and you could only take 5 baits
Hmm.
with you the entire season, what would your lineup look like
Hmm. That's a good one.
in
For
Lake
sure.
Erie?
For
Like
sure. Drop
in Lake
shot.
Erie.
Oh, excuse me. Dog is barking at something. Quiet. Hey. Um. So Alabama rig, drop shot. Um.
What's your plastic of choice on the drop shot?
Definitely max set something. So like a flatworm. I mean, the typical general stuff. Um, you can
What's
do
the
some
big
different
color?
things.
What's the color that people like on that? Is it
Yeah,
Smallmouth Magic? Is that
smallmouth
color?
magic. Yeah, so there's smallmouth secret for this flatworm. That's a good color.
Okay.
Brownback is
Yeah.
probably, if I was gonna pick one, brownback's the best color.
Okay.
So it's kind of like it's actually deceiving. It's more like a bait fish color, but it's like a two tone. So I guess it could be a goby or something, but more of like a
Okay.
bait fish color. Yeah.
So
So a
Alabama
rig,
rig.
drop
Okay.
shot. Um, I would say, making it hard. Probably a crankbait because
Okay.
I love the power fish. But you've got windows where that's going to work.
Yeah.
Um, but I think when those windows are happening, you got a chance to catch absolute tanks.
What's your like
Um,
depth? What depth of crankbait are you?
like I throw some shallow ones, but I mean a lot of like deeper, mid range, deep divers. Up to 20 foot.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, if I think back of like the best days I've had in tournaments and stuff, definitely have crankbaits have been a factor. Jig head minnow, I'm gonna go there. Jig head with a
Oh.
minnow. Boo, boo.
Do you do the whole loop knot thing with that? Is it have you
Typically,
typically?
yeah, typically, but
Yeah,
you can use some different heads that kind of like list without really
yeah.
doing that. I don't always do it, but typically, yeah. So yeah, drop shot, jig head minnow, crankbait, a rig, probably a tube.
Okay.
Yeah. So am I at five? Is that five or six or four?
Drop shot, A
Drop
rig,
shot, a rig, crankbait,
crankbait.
tube.
Dude, we got one more.
Oh, we got one more. Sweet. I'm gonna go with a. I'm gonna go with the Ned rig.
Okay. I'm surprised. There's a few omissions there. I was like,
I was torn on the last one between a jerk bait and a Ned rig. I
yeah, I
think,
wasn't even thinking how jerk bait.
yeah,
Yeah,
jerk bait's killer here. It really
yeah.
is. You know what?
A
I'm gonna
lot
go
of
jerk
that
bait. Jerk bait.
instead of the Ned rig.
Yeah. So I'll have three power baits. It's kind of telling what I like to do, and two finesse.
Yep.
So I'll do the drop shot and the tube. I think more often than not, you can get away with those as your finesse baits.
Well, it looks like I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna get some time in on some stuff that I don't use. I've never thrown a drop shot. I've never thrown
Wow.
an A rig. Um, which is yeah, it just shows you the different type of fishing. Like I don't drop
Oh, it's
shot. You
totally
don't drop
different.
shot in the river, do you? That's not a thing. I'm pretty sure I could do in the winter. Um, obviously, if they're in a crankbait. Uh, what else did you say? Oh, jig and minnow. Ironically, I have one tied on right now, but it's the first time I was going to try it in the wintertime. Like I bought some of it's like Queen's tackle
Yeah, like that weird
heads.
looking head.
Yeah, like a strolling
Trolling head.
deal, and I got some baby Z's, like the little
The
Z Man
Z2.
or the Strike King ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Um,
Z2s. Those are
so
good.
I was trying to just like hey, I'm sure it would crush in the wintertime. I just didn't get a lot of winter time this year because our rivers have been so low.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it surprises me that you don't have some kind of Goby imitation.
Well, the tube kind of fills that.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that.
For me, that's
Yeah,
essentially what that one's doing is my Gobi imitator.
okay. I'm gonna bring some Goby baits with me,
You
so
should. Yeah, bring
I'm
those
gonna
hatch match.
try. Yeah, I'm gonna bring some hash matches. I got some the Gobius
That one's
Z-Min
good.
ones.
Gobi Z Man
Yeah,
works. Yep.
some
That's a
dark
good bait.
sleepers. The tube is something I've thrown like
Oh, if you're a
yeah,
river guy, yeah.
a lot. Yeah, I'm fishing
100%.
tube. Now I will say I don't really fish it much anymore. It's for whatever reason. I feel like the Ned rig variations have kind of replaced the tubes for me, but
Yeah.
um I don't even really fish a Ned rig anymore as much as I fish like more of that compact, like a finesse jig or
Yep.
something with like a
Jigs are good
football
too.
head. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I like jigs for sure.
yeah, it'll be interesting, man. I mean, I'll be mind, eyes wide open, but if Chris will attest, I'm a stubborn guy.
I
So
never picked up on that. You're like, I don't want to throw that. I don't want to throw that.
well, what'll happen is like I'll catch a fish doing something. I'm not the kind of guy that like if you're fishing with like something, I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna fish with that. I'm like, I'm gonna kind of, I'm seeing what you're doing. But I'm gonna kind of try something else and see if I can get something going. You know, um,
You know
so
who
we'll
else
see
does
how.
that? Jeff
What?
Daly.
Yeah, oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Like, dude, they're smoking this. You should. No, I'm just gonna throw a tube. I was like, okay.
I don't know. It's like more rewarding if I feel like I get on something, and in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe I can show him, something he's not doing right now. But
Yeah, no, I like
you
that
know,
too.
there's it depends on what type of fishing we're doing, how deep we are and stuff. If it's like shallow stuff, like yeah, I'll be experimenting. But
It
I'll
should
be
mostly be. I would probably venture to guess it's not going to be super deep then.
okay. I'm definitely gonna throw a munchie. My goal is to catch at least one Great Lake smallmouth on a munchie. So
You should be
I'm
able
gonna
to.
have
I
it.
would. They would eat it.
Yeah, I mean, I was throwing that thing in Florida when I was down. I had this guide, and I was like, "Hey, dude," he was wanting to use live bait. I'm like, "Bro, I'm not using live bait." I was like, "I have these prototypes I'm going to be throwing," and I ended up catching a pretty decent sized largemouth on one. So
They
yeah,
like
it's
a
fun.
fluke style bait in Florida. Like it's a really good
Oh yeah,
bait.
oh yeah, fluke's hard to go away from. I'm sure that I could catch them on a fluke. If you can get it down to however deep they are. That's the only problem with that. But
It
um,
is. The river,
yeah,
you're fishing a lot shallow. So I mean, when you're just like
you've,
twitching a bait, they'll just smoke it. It'll just come up from a foot down and smoke it.
yeah, I know. So do you fish any like swim like big like glide type baits and stuff at all? Is that
I'm
a
starting
thing?
to more. Yeah, I'm definitely starting to more. Mostly for largemouth, but I do catch some smallmouth doing it. I'd like to do it more. Unfortunately, when I'm with clients, like not a lot of people could throw bait casters, so it's just not like feasible.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I do enjoy it. I take it you fish them a lot on the river too, right?
yeah. I'm not a huge glide bait guy, but we're making a glide, which I'll have
Yeah,
some
your
prototypes
flab.
for you, and
Sweet.
they'll be 5.5 inches, so they're not like huge. I
That's
mean, those
small
are
size. Yeah.
yeah. You definitely will get some on smallmouth. Um, but yeah, man. Well, yeah, looking forward to that for sure. Like,
Hmm.
I'm just looking forward to this cold weather. We got, I guess, decent weather today. It was
We did too. It's like almost
almost
50.
60.
It's
Yeah, we
almost
were
50
we were
here.
like 58, I think here.
That's real good.
Um, yeah, it was nice.
It's gonna
I was in the
melt
office
quick.
most of the day, but I know. Yeah. Well, cool, man. It was nice chatting with you as always, dude. And
Yeah, you too.
yeah, well, I think we got. Is it? Are we talking to Coos next?
I
Is
believe
that the
so.
plan?
Yeah, because you talked to him at the Columbus show. So yeah, we
Yeah.
can grab him. He's the Ontario. He fishes Lake Ontario mostly, right?
Yeah, well, we're getting a debate on what's
Yeah.
better, Erie or Ontario.
Oh no, we might get into a fight or something.
All I know is that dude posts absolute
He catches
slobs, dude.
monsters for sure.
Yeah, he posts some slobs. So, and he's a megabat. He's the megabass like rep, I think, around the
Yeah,
area. So,
I know he's
yeah,
affiliated with Megabass.
yeah.
Megabass actually, their headquarters now in the U.S. is in Pittsburgh, so it's in Western PA
Oh,
now.
well, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be cool to maybe get some secret stuff coming from him. So,
I hope
um,
so, man. Throw a lot of
yeah, I know.
Megabass. Don't get it twisted. I love the Megabass though.
Oh yeah, me too. All right, dude. Well, it's good talking with you, and till next time, free the fighter.
Yeah, man. Free the fighter. We'll see you next time.